I recognize the honourable member for Halifax Needham.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker, and it's my pleasure to speak just briefly to this bill. Amalgamations and consolidations of municipalities have been, a difficult topic for Nova Scotia for many years, and of course. That is because the situations actually on the ground in those municipalities are often difficult. Many rural areas are struggling. And so while I welcome and also congratulate West Hants and Windsor on arriving at this shared vision of the path forward, I also want to make the point that the province does need to be doing more to support rural municipalities, and there's a whole host of ways that the province could be doing more. I mean, certainly, as I'm also the NDP spokesperson on immigration, I think one element has to be really working in a concerted way to increase the number of immigrants who are choosing to live in rural Nova Scotia. Both the landscape, the land, and the built infrastructure in rural Nova Scotia is often just, beautiful. And when people travel around this province, they can't believe the number of wonderful homes and wonderful communities that are really spread out across Nova Scotia. And what we need are people. We need people who will work that land and join those volunteer fire departments and enroll their kids in schools and do everything that, of course, historically has been done in rural Nova Scotia. In terms of direct support from the province, the equalization payments made to municipalities around the province have not increased in years, even though service and infrastructure costs have continued to rise for municipalities, and provincial revenue has increased. So this needs to be revisited. Our province still collects money from municipalities. On average, 1 out of every $5 collected through property tax gets paid to the province. And for some municipalities, this is actually their greatest budget expense. And if that's not enough, municipalities are having to step up and bear the costs of some provincial responsibilities, which frankly are not being well taken in hand at the provincial level. So I raised the case of the Halifax Hospice today, which was, a capital expense, and the former Minister of Health came over and, made the point that the hospice agreed from the outset that that the province would take care of operating and they would take care of funding it. Well, that's fine and that's great, but we also see municipalities actually underwriting the costs of health clinics on an ongoing basis. That's the case in Clare, where the municipality spends about $100,000 a year to keep their collaborative health care clinic going. And in other municipalities, we see municipal dollars going towards physician recruitment and also affordable housing. So the province collects some of, the municipality's property tax revenue in order to pay for things like schools and correctional facilities. And these are things that long ago moved from being municipal responsibilities to being provincial responsibilities. And many other provinces have stopped collecting revenue from municipalities to pay for those items. Nova Scotia continues. So in total, municipalities lose out on about $246 million in revenue because the province takes it. And when our rural municipalities are struggling, that doesn't seem fair or smart. The property tax burden on rural residents is becoming unsustainable, and it's discouraging rural growth, and that becomes a negative spiral. So the province really does need to work with municipalities to revisit those payments. Again, in this case, it appears that this amalgamation is entered into willingly by both parties. I congratulate them on arriving on that together, and hope that it works out well for the citizens and certainly for the bottom line. But encourage the province to also not shy away from the bigger, broader, systemic approach towards making sure that rural Nova Scotia can thrive with its many municipalities. Thank you, Mr. Speaker.
If I'm to recognize the Minister of Municipal Affairs,